Hi, I'm Jason Ahern, founder of ACO. Thanks for watching today. Our last episode, we broke out the 7 traits that we believe are inherent of a great salesman. And I'll remind you quickly, and I'll do a quick recap on those, but we actually tied 5 of our 7 back to what Harvard Business Review actually stated were the 2 traits inherent of a great salesman. They broke out both ego as well as empathy. We've detailed it out a little further because we believe also there's 2 additionals, but 7 traits are being Olympic-minded, being an eternal student, being relationship-focused, being a leader, being an excellent painter and being able to sell that journey, and then 7, being able to put your customer into that journey. So those are our 7 traits. Today we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about both traits 1 and 2. These 2 are 2 interesting ones to talk about at the same time because Olympic-minded is very much an ego-driven trait, whereas being an eternal student is really neither. They couldn't sometimes be at more at odds for certain people. So sadly, a lot of people that are Olympic-minded feel they're already the best at something. They're very driven. They know, I'm very good at this. I know this. There's nothing else to learn. Couldn't be further from the truth. No matter what level you are in your game, there's always more to learn, and there always needs to be more to learn if you want to stay on top. So let's dig into Olympic-minded a little bit. Olympic-minded people have a constant focus. They're willing to do things that others won't do so they can have things that others won't ever have. They're willing to outwork everyone else around them. Personally, sales is something I've been doing for many, many decades. And I've found that it's something that takes an awful lot of time if you want to be the best at it. And for example, also fitness and health is something that's very important for me as well as for my family. I found that I need to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I can make sure I have all the time I need to work. So that's when I start my day. I meal prep, sure, it's more healthy, but also what I don't do is I don't take lunch breaks. I take about 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and I'm done. So I can get more done in an 8, 9, 10-hour day than pretty much anyone else who works around me. You have to be able to never give up. That's obviously anybody who's a great Olympian, a great athlete, and that's why I tie it back to Olympic-minded. You're not always going to have great days. You might have a poor week, month, even a rough patch as full as a year. But the pain of failure isn't so much to convince you to stop, but to move forward and find that next success. So that's really a tough part. That really is one of the more defining characteristics of an Olympic-minded person. Recognize that sales, you're not going to get yeses every single time. You're going to get an awful lot of no's sometimes. And how do I turn those no's back into yeses later? How do I not give up? How does I not let that no or that bad week, month, or year impact my next opportunity? Very tough. Let's dig into eternal student quickly. I'm a firm believer that practice does not make perfect by any means, but it does certainly make permanent. So you have to be willing to, whatever it is you do directly for sales, you need to practice. It's like anything else. If you want to get good at something, you need to keep on doing it over and over and over. Repetition, finding holes, filling those holes, making them better. William Yeats has a great quote, education is not the filling of a pail, but rather the lighting of a fire. What's the difference? Obviously a pail has a max amount of available space. Once it's full, it's full. A fire, you start it, it gets burning, you need to keep it, maintain it, grow it, much like you do any sales. So in sales, whether you decide you want to watch videos like this, whether you want to hire on sales trainers, whatever it is that's going to help better what you're doing, whether it's just role playing with other folks if you're in a direct sales environment, whatever it is that's going to help you get better, you need to be willing to do it. Ego has to be pushed aside if you want to be an eternal student. The reason I say that is you keep thinking you're elevating your game, and that's great. You may have had a great month and say, hey, I don't need to keep practicing. I'm on a roll right now. That's exactly wrong. Or I'm going the other way. I'm not cut out for this. The same thing. You need to be willing to study. So take a look at yourself. Olympic-minded, you just need to actually be truthful with yourself and say, do I have that trait? Am I willing to put sacrifice? Am I able to put things aside to become the best I can at this? As far as the eternal student, you just need to be willing to find out, okay, I think I'm great at what I do, but this is a hole, this is a hole, and this is a hole. How do I fill those holes? So do a lot of self-reflection over the next week, 2 weeks, month, year, 10 years, and always be filling in the holes, always be willing to learn. Please stay tuned. Next couple dates, we're going to be going through what will be relationship focused and having the mind of a leader.